Hi everyone, Jennifer Blevins-Smith with Integral Clinic Solutions, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Navigating the Business of Medicine. Today I want to talk about the revenue cycle. Then I will record a video that will go hand in hand with this one about revenue cycle management. Before I can talk about the management of anything, I have to talk about the actual thing that's going to be managed. And in this case, it's the revenue cycle in a practice, in a medical business. Unfortunately, because medicine has a business side to it, there is a revenue cycle that needs to be evaluated. And people who run a practice, whether it's a provider who owns it, a manager they put in charge of it, or a company that's going to assist, it needs to have a beginning, middle, and end to this revenue cycle. This cycle is pretty much the same for all different kinds of healthcare practices, whether it's a large entity, a small entity. The steps are essentially the same, but what happens in those steps could be different depending on the specialty, how big it is, what kind of claims go out, etc. No matter what, the revenue cycle always starts at the front desk or the registration of a patient, wherever that is for a specific practice. Registering patients accurately is vital to making sure that the revenue cycle starts on the right foot and ends as fast as it can. That means getting patients correct names as it reflects at the insurance company on their insurance card, spelling things correctly, getting accurate dates of birth, choosing the right insurance plan to bill, entering the correct subscriber ID and group numbers, getting the subscriber's name and date of birth for that health plan, understanding the different health plans that are accepted at a practice, including ones that maybe they aren't participating, and having to have conversations with patients about self-pay and expectation to pay at time of service. Also, the revenue cycle includes the front desk when it comes to collecting patient cost shares, whether it's a copay or a balance on an account. A lot of people don't realize how many different departments and staff the revenue cycle actually touches within a practice. It really does involve everyone in the practice, and it starts with the front desk and registration, as we just discussed. It moves to the mid-office with your providers and your medical assistants and nurses, because the services that are offered during a visit are often captured by the staff, right? So point of care testing, the office visit level, DME, imaging, that should all be captured by your mid-office, whether it's a provider coding their own stuff or your medical assistants and nurses responsible for entering all of the ancillary items. It really does fall usually on some portion of responsibility of those things in that area. And then you have your coders who should be reviewing all of this information before it gets submitted to the insurance company. So you need someone to make sure they're looking through the progress notes, making sure that everything that's documented was captured for billing, that the medical necessity and the documentation is backing up what's being charged. So you have somebody there, and it could be a coder/biller, it could be just a coder, it could be a biller who is also certified in coding. It just depends. It could be a whole nother third party that you've outsourced to do that for you. But coding is super important in the revenue cycle. Then you have the people who work with claims that get submitted to insurance companies, whether they're rejected at the clearinghouse or they get denied at the insurance company, or maybe they get adjudicated and they have a patient balance. You have to have somebody on that side making sure that those are getting looked at and getting worked. And then ultimately somebody should be managing all of the outstanding AR and stuff that's owed to the practice from insurances and patients. And I will go over a little bit of this with my next video when I talk about managing the revenue cycle, but you can see how this touches so many people, because these people that the revenue cycle is touching needs to be monitored by someone a little higher up, whether it's a manager or a provider who understands everything and is involved with it all. It touches every single person because the revenue cycle is the administrative and the clinical side of capturing charges, revenue generated for patient services, and watching it go all the way through the whole process until final payment is made, whether that's from an insurance company, a patient, or a combination of both. If you are unfamiliar with the revenue cycle, if it's sounding familiar but you don't know a ton, I encourage you, especially if you're a manager or you're a provider owner, you need to have a very strong, firm understanding about the revenue cycle because that's going to be the success of your business. Medicine is the profession. Healthcare is a business. Unfortunately, in America, that's how it is. And if you want to be successful and be able to continue providing quality patient care, you have to understand the revenue cycle. You also have to understand the compliance with billing, the regulations, and everything that goes into it because it's not always so linear. Sometimes there's little branches that come off those lines that's, oh yeah, we got an audit here, or oh yeah, I forgot we need to include medical records here. And it can kind of get messy sometimes, but if you have a strong understanding of how it all works together and how all your staff plays a role, you can make sure that each of them are understanding their role, that they feel comfortable in their role, and that you can hit those different quality measures individually by the staff member in their roles to ensure that each step is being done as efficiently and thoroughly as possible. It's a necessary evil. The revenue cycle is something that is a niche for people like myself. Ever since I stopped working the floor and aiding in patient care, that is an area that I have really focused on is the revenue cycle. And sometimes I get really bogged down and I get frustrated with it, but I actually really love it because there's so much detail in it and being able to analyze stuff and to improve it. And there's so many areas of change all the time, just like all of healthcare, really, let's be real. But because it's always changing, you have to have your head on a swivel and you constantly have to do research and you have to ask the questions and do deeper dives. And that's what I love about it. But to be a successful medical practice owner, you need to understand the revenue cycle. And as a provider, you most likely won't have the time to be able to put the effort and attention into this. So you need to hire qualified people that you can rely on to do it for you, and then you check in with them. Don't take for granted that they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing, but have those checks and balances to ensure that everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I'll talk about that in my revenue cycle management video that I will record next. So make sure you check that out. You need to make sure you hit that thumbs up button too, because I want to get those likes, and you need to subscribe to my channel because I want to keep growing this channel. Please share this with people, your colleagues who this might benefit. I want to get the word out because the revenue cycle, I feel like, is very overlooked and taken for granted in a lot of practices, and that's where a lot of things can go south, unfortunately. So share this with everybody you can. Please watch my follow-up video. I have other videos about revenue cycle management, like reporting to do and KPIs and stuff like that. Check it out. It's really important. If you have any questions or comments, leave that in the comment section below. Smash the thumbs up button if today's video was helpful, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for the support. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.